Another week done in this high seas meta, and would you believe it, the week has finally come. It's finally happened. Gravy Bones didn't pick up a win on the weekend, and no one has anything to complain about whatsoever. Like, the meta is fine, everyone is happy, there's nothing. Oh, that's right, assassins exist. Spoiler alert, for those that don't know, Assassin is quite good, and in fact, Assassin has been quite good since the Hunted release, and gave Assassin players 1, Arachne Marionette, 2, Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, and 3, a bunch of very overtuned Assassin cards. And it has put Assassin in this sort of background dark horse meta pick before, but now in the high seas meta, this is the point where Assassin has sort of staked its claim as maybe just the class to beat. I know everyone's talked about Gravy Bones, and rightfully so. Since he's come out, he's been quite a dominant deciding factor in the meta, but don't discount Assassins, because today we have to talk about 2 of them. They were the winners on the weekend, and their class identity is really the discussion point for today. Of course, though, before we dive into their class identity, we should talk about the Calling Copenhagen, because this was the event of the weekend. And this right here, as you see, was the breakdown for day 1. 66 Gravies, 51 Arachnes, 29 Acilios, 28 Syndras, 27 Dios, 21 Verdants, and 20 Fang, with 17 Arachnes and 17 Iris lurking, and then a smattering of all the other heroes. But keep in mind, this meta really represents a lot of players trying to answer in an aggressive fashion Gravy Bones. That has been the sort of linchpin starting point for the meta. Answer my board state. And this is the Calling Day 2 conversion. And if we take a look at the conversion, as I'll just pause it for us, the Calling Day 2 conversion is actually pretty even across the board. 27% of the Gravy Bones players ended up making the cut. And I will say that a lot of those players were finishing in the top half of the bracket in Day 2. There were, undefeated players all the way down to a good chunk of 5-win players. 25% of the Arachne Slip Through the Cracks made their way into the top, or into the second day, I should say. And then Dio represented 33% conversion rate, so actually doing better than both of the top 2 heroes combined. 21% for Acilio, 24 and 24 respectively for both Verdants and Marionette. And then these are the key ones to look out for. 33% conversion rate for Dory, who can prey on some of these non-blocking decks. 43% for Kano, who can just blow anyone up. And then take a look at Jarl with 29% as well. That's another hero that a lot of players aren't looking at as far as like a possible answer to some of the more red line builds out there, but does fold to a couple of those heroes above there. Nevertheless, if you look at the overall like top 2 or day 2 conversion rates, they're pretty consistent, and none are just way above or way below the others as far as those top decks. So that speaks to very healthy metagame placements overall. Understanding all of that, though, we need to take a look at the top 8, because as you see, the top 8 breaks down into 2 Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, 2 Gravy Bones, which were this time paired against each other, whereas last weekend they were put on like opposite sides of the bracket, which ended up representing a Gravy Bones mirror in the finals as they made their way past some tough matchups. And then a smattering of other very strong heroes, including Maximilian Klein on Fang, which was such a great storyline. In fact, I would highly recommend everybody go watch Max's games. Max is such a great player. I really enjoy watching him. He wears his emotions on his sleeves, and he has put himself consistently at top tables, and in those big moments where you're just rooting for him to push over the top. Had a tough loss in the finals of Pro Tour LA in one of the greatest card games of any card game ever played, and he made his way to the finals as Fang against Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, and specifically against Francesco Giorgio, a fantastic player in his own right, and has gotten his own skins up on the wall as well, who, by the way, you should really watch some of his older tournament games when he was playing in Limited. He's a Limited beast. That guy knows how to play in Limited, and it made for a crazy finals for this tournament. And I want to show you one specific part because I think this is really important for our conversation today. So this is turn 3 of the finals. Players are already at 17 life apiece. The game has already been hot and heavy. Both players swinging some pretty big turns. And right before this, Max threw a bunch of damage to try and get life parity from Francesco Giorgio, who did indeed have a big turn on the turn prior and had a big life lead. And he starts off by playing Infect. He flicks a knife to mark his opponent. Max is marked, and then he just casually plays out an Orb Weaver Spinneret for plus the damage, the +3, and then he follows it up with a Bonds of Agony, just a casual Bonds of Agony for 4, representing the possible destruction of Maximilian Klein's hand, or at least a single card from his hand, and removing the other copies of the card from the deck. Max Klein has to make a decision here how he wants to approach this, because sometimes you can just sell the farm, give as many cards as you want. He's actually here feathering 3 cards in hand, perhaps thinking about blocking with those cards, 2 cards, because he had blocked on the previous turn, possibly giving 5 block there. You could see he has Savor Bloodshed, he has Blistering Blade, and he has a non-block card as well. He's thinking about equipment blocks. The Valiant Dynamo certainly representing a 1-block opportunity, because you just want, once you've gotten your 3 fealties online, to just go really efficient with your cards, with your ability to attack, because you're no longer having to pay for your Obsidian Fire Veins, and you can just kind of chuck your equipment and your cards down and play a much more efficient game plan when you don't have to cover the costs of really anything in your deck. Looks like he's going to be committing the 4 block in total to the combat chain, but of course you do have to respect attack reactions, or you can just say that's fine. I can play a 1 card plus arsenal hand regardless of how they end up taking a card from me, and I can always pop a fealty to make the other card. If they end up giving me Savor Bloodshed, I could pop a fealty to make that Draconic. And if they give me the, I think it was Tooth of the Dragon, then it's already Draconic, so I don't have to give up a fealty. So I can at least play this back and forth game, but I am welcome to take a little bit of damage by making this block. I mean, adding +2 on this by blocking with another card. And this is what we get. We get just a nick, Black Tech Whisperers to make this go from 4 to 17. Keep in mind, the class identity for Warrior is that they play attack reactions and punish your opponent's poor blocking choices. And instead, Francesco Giorgio just gets to say, this on-hit effect that I get to play that's disruptive to you is backed up by 5, 10, 13 extra damage that you can't interact with unless you play a bunch of broken D-reacts that have warped the format of Flesh and Blood. That's what Assassin does. Assassin gets to say, we're at life parity. Oops, no you're not, because you didn't give me all of your cards. And keep in mind, this wasn't even like a take up the mantle turn where any random freaking attack just becomes something awful in the graveyard. It just transforms itself. It's not that. No, instead, it's double Justinic, pop the boots, and just basically win the game on the spot. And this is the issue that I have. This is the problem that I see with Assassin right now. Assassin is doing so much from a class standpoint. They are playing this disruptive game, which honestly, I think that's what they should do. I think Assassins should be the disruptive class. They should be the class that tears your hand apart in different ways, and you have to try and figure out how they're going to do it. But apparently also, they're going to destroy cards in your deck, so they're the milling class as well, which is fine. Okay, maybe that's a little Guardian thing in there. They kind of tear your hand up, and they kind of like mill cards off the top of your deck with Miller's Grindstone. There's a little splash, there's a little crossover. That's okay. But apparently they also put 13 damage in the reaction step as well, because Justinic was a card that was printed. And it was printed because it was encouraged to buff up attacks that were blue, that attacked for 1. But Spoiler alert, there are other attacks that buff themselves as well. And all of this put together means that Assassin can make an attack go from 4 to 17 on one turn. Is that a lot? That seems like Assassin gets to do a lot. Am I wrong there? Is that too much? Okay, so to me, that's a lot. It seems like this class can do a whole bunch more than a lot of other classes in the game. So my question is, what's the answer? What do they do to bring Assassin into a more cohesive class identity? Because to me, it feels like they're basically eating the class identity of Warrior with attack reactions and punishing bad blocks. They're doing their own thing with disrupting like the opponent's hand and maybe their deck, but they're also splashing in a little bit of like what other classes can do and maybe specific heroes can do by eating like cards from hand and like milling top of deck. What is the Assassin supposed to be? That's where I think we should go from this point forward. Look at what Assassin is meant to be and make cards and make changes to the class based on what they're supposed to do. I think there's a problem though, because I don't know if they can retroactively walk back some of these cards and have it like, make a ton of sense. But, at the same time, maybe it's just one of those times in Flesh and Blood where like a hero just does more than they were meant to do. But interestingly enough, it's not even just Arachne slipped through the cracks that had success, because if you haven't been paying attention, Arachne Marionette has been lurking in the darkness, just out of your eyesight, just off screen, if you will. Arachne Marionette has been quite potent in and of itself, and check this out. If you're looking for a way to maybe answer Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, just take half of Arachne Slip Through the Cracks hero text and apply it to yourself by being Arachne Marionette. And that's exactly what happened in the battle-hardened Copenhagen, because Arachne Marionette picks up the win against Arachne Slip Through the Cracks. And look, there's another Arachne Marionette lurking in there as well at the, this spot right here. Tommaso also played Arachne Marionette, and would you believe it, no Gravy Bones in sight, huh? It's almost as if the land is healing. The meta is course correcting, and we almost had this happen last week. Like, this literally almost happened last week, and instead, Kano won the Battle Hardened, which is cool, and the calling was taken down. The bracket was shifted around in just enough ways that Gravy Bones was able to punch through some bad matchups, and they didn't eliminate themselves right in the quarterfinals. But this is honestly what we just talked about, and the top 8 that we saw here, I'll put it back on the screen, this right here, that top 8 is not that far off from last week. So we could have had this exact same conversation last week. To me, this means a lot. I think to me, this very much means that Flesh and Blood has a solid, maybe even a great metagame. It's very wide open. Some of these heroes have the capacity to answer Gravy Bones and have some amount of game into Arachne Slip Through the Cracks and just Assassins in general. I may have my issues with how Assassin has the ability to do perhaps too much compared to other classes and maybe even other heroes, but at the same time, that's like a personal thing, because it's not like the meta's bad, is it? Am I wrong? The meta seems pretty solid. Like, yeah, Assassin won both of the events, and it's kind of annoying that they can put 17 damage on the board in reaction speed. But maybe that's just for the time being. We should look at the totality of the meta and look at how open some of these heroes are to be able to just be played and to do well, to day 2 to top 8 events, and recognize that we are in a good spot right now. Could they do like a ban and restricted announcement and knock an Assassin card and knock a Gravy card? 100%. Would it make things better? It might. It might. But is it already pretty good? Yeah, it is. And heck, we're playing Flesh and Blood. This card game's pretty solid. So, we have a lot going for us. If you enjoy this type of video where we break down what happened this past weekend, let me know that in a comment below, and of course, make the number go to the other number. As always, thanks for watching.